And welcome into another edition of Devil Dash. I'm Wills, joined by Josh here. And we got a great show finally because, ASU's winning some ball games for once.
Let's go. Get some claps in the chat.
3-0 this week. Unfortunately, today's game got postponed due to COVID complications with Washington State. But we're going to get into a few things, kind of what's going right for this team without Bagley and Christopher, what's needed to do to win the Pac-12 tournament. We kind of talked about that each week. And then something at the end of the show we're going to talk about is Remy Martin possibly returning for a fifth year and what that could mean for the squad and what, kind of what it's looking like. What are the odds of that happening? So first, we're going to start off, just what really changed for this team schematically because, this team hasn't been playing up to its potential. I don't think anyone is going to argue that. I don't think Bobby Hurley's going to argue that. I don't think Remy Martin's going to argue that. But these last three games have looked good. It is two of the worst teams in the Pac-12, Washington State and Washington, but games you needed to win. You lost earlier in the year. You lost to UTEP. You beat GCU by one, but these close games you haven't really been winning, which has been a trademark of Bobby Hurley. I wrote about it last week for Sports Pac-12. I believe they were 9-3 in games decided by 5 points last year, and this year going into this week, I don't know the stats exactly, so it's in my article, but I believe they're 4-5 in games decided by 5 points or less. So 9-3 to 4-5. That's a big drop off. And with one of the most experienced players in Remy Martin, you don't expect that to happen. But what went right this week? Obviously, two lesser teams, but missing two of our best players. What do you think went right for ASU this week?
Well, this has been going on a lot longer than the past two games, but we kind of reiterate this. But we got Remy Martin back, in a big way too. He's really been putting up the points, leading this team. Offensively, from the very first minute of the game to the last, 2 minutes, closing out these tough Pac-12 games, he's been there, which has been huge. It's a constant, 25. He's been averaging around 25 these past 8 or 7 games. So, that's an automatic 25, 28 points. You're on average, you're going to get from a guy, and that's something that this team has been relying on for the past, 2-3 years. And I don't want to speak on, I don't know how much you want to talk about Kamani in the next segment, but man, dude really stole the show this week. And hey, I don't want to say I told you so, but right here on this show last week, we told you guys that Kamani Lawrence was going to get his chance. And he freaking did, man. He balled out. He set a record that has never been done in a Pac-12 game, but hasn't happened by the last ASU player. I'm talking about 20 rebounds since 1997. So, bad season up until now, I guess. I like the way we're going, heading to the Pac-12 tournament. If this is a time where the team is to, start hitting the gas and rounding the corner and playing their best ball, man, absolutely. This is the time.
So, on the Kamani Lawrence thing, not only did he have the 20 rebound game along with the 21 points, that was the second game against Washington where they won by, I believe it was 8 points. And
the 20 and 12.
The first game against Washington, he put up 22 and 12. So against the two games against Washington, he put up 43 points and 32 rebounds.
That's literally like as much as he put up like last season.
Yeah, I just looked it up. He's only 6'8". So, it's someone, he's showing his heart. He's kind of getting it's his senior year at ASU. We're going to get into like the fifth year options later at the end of the show. But, it seems like what is probably going to be his last year at ASU. It seems like that's what they've been talking about on the radio and stuff like that. He had a senior night. He's been balling out. And I really want to see this type of play with Bagley and Christopher in the lineup. And I think that's going to be something that's really going to need to be watched for. But, Kamani looks like he has that confidence again because as every ASU fan knows, his freshman year when, we went into Kansas and beat Kansas and, that was the start of Guard U where we really took the nation by storm and got up to number 3 in the nation, I believe. Kamani was a big part of that team. It wasn't just Trey Holder, Shannon Evans, Cody Justice, Remy Martin even. Kamani got a big role as a freshman. I don't have his stats exactly in front of me, but I can pull them up. He's been balling out recently, which is surprising because he's had, sophomore, junior, and now half of his senior year that he didn't really produce at all. And now he's really coming out and, he's looking like a real force for this ASU team. On the court, it's really been Remy Martin and Kamani Lawrence. With Bagley and Christopher out, you'd really expect Verge to step up. You'd expect maybe and Jalen Graham to step up, a Holland Woods, you could see House getting more minutes. Jalen House, there's a lot of players we expect to pick up the slack, but this production from Kamani Lawrence is fantastic, but it's also a little disappointing knowing that this has been here the entire time, and he just hasn't. I don't know if he hasn't been applying himself, if he hasn't gotten the opportunities that he would like, but man, is he taking advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's a culmination of a bunch of things. Like you said, this is likely to be his last season playing college basketball, and he's been here all 4 years, and I think we talked about this last week. What are your thoughts on his tenure here overall? Like, how do you assess him? I'm not telling you to compare him to Remy or something, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's tough because he was on one of the most successful teams. ASU's, obviously, when I say most successful, I mean I believe number 3 is probably, I don't know this for a fact, but probably one of the highest.
In our time, at least.
Not even in our time, probably in history. I mean,
yeah.
ASU hasn't had top 3 teams in the country, so to be ranked that high, Kamani was a part of that. And like I said, a few minutes ago, he wasn't just on that team. He was a contributing factor to that team. So, it's gonna be tough because he hasn't been that star. But you know what? I'll say this: if he is a contributing factor and this ASU team makes the NCAA tournament by winning the Pac-12 tournament, there's going to be a lot of credit given to him, because after Bagley and Christopher went out, it would have been so easy for this team to really just throw the towel in. I mean, they were 4 or 5 games under 500, and at-large bid. They're 2 of their 3 best players, out for the season. We have no clue when they're coming back, but Kamani has stepped up big, and this is a huge storyline because this was supposed to be, on paper, the best team ASU's ever had. This was supposed to be that team. And Kamani was really an afterthought of this team. When you thought of this team before the season, you think Martin, Christopher, Bagley, Verge, Holland Woods, you think of all these
all the
players,
noise going into
all the
season.
scorers and stuff. And without having a lot of size at center, these rebounds and really the scoring that he's gotten inside, Kamani Lawrence has been a huge part of this, because we've talked about Romello White, how much this team misses Romello White, and just that rebounding presence and that big man, not even necessarily 20 points per game in the paint, but the threat of scoring in the paint, which opens so much more for your shooters. And, it's tough because we don't have that guy. Jalen Graham, I think, has been fantastic and given a lot to this team, but his talent level just isn't there for, playing against Evan Mobley, for example. And, it's tough, but he's done a great job. I think Kamani has filled in great, only at 6'8", and he's really been dominating the boards. And, like I said, I really want to see this with Bagley and Christopher.
Yeah, and, that's a huge thing going into this. You can't tell me Kamani's not thinking about, how hurt this team is kind of right now, at least not for, in general, but this week at least, hopefully Bagley and, Christopher are going to come back into hopefully for the Pac-12 tournament. But, he saw this team was hurting, and I'm pretty sure Jalen Graham was out for one of the games against Washington. So, he took the role that was presented with him, and he ran with it. And like you said, this is exactly what we're going to need from him. And let's not forget about Verge too. Verge is coming off the bench. He had some good games this week. I'm pretty sure both games he put up around 15, 16 points and a couple of rebounds. And, that's exactly what we need from that guy, paired along with Remy Martin when arguably our top 2 guys are out.
Yeah. And
even if it is the, bottom of the barrel in the Pac-12, which is, I can call them that because that's what we are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We are bottom of the barrel. And something we've wanted to see from this team is, them shoot a little bit higher of a percentage from the outside. And I think, during these last few games, schematically, we're talking about schematics. It's like they shot 40% in the 8-point win. I think 39% from 3 in the 30-point win against Washington. It's like you're going to start seeing trends. When you start shooting 39, 40% from 3, especially with all this talent they have littered throughout the roster, you're going to see wins start popping up. I'm pulling up Washington State to see what they pulled out a 3-point victory. And again, that game was a lot closer than it needed to be. Look at the stats. They shot 28% from 3. And I know I'm not being the guy like, wow, make your threes and you win the game. That's obvious. But I'm not asking them to shoot 50%, even 40%. That's a lot. I'm asking to shoot a more consistent, 35 to 37% from the 3-point line. And with the talent they have, it's doable. It's not too much to ask for. And, I think they're going to start seeing a lot more wins, especially when these two players hopefully come back.
Yeah, and that's a kind of ball that Remy Martin is accustomed to on the Sunderland team. We've for the past 2 years we've been all about shooting the ball and guard you, just fast guys moving the ball around. Maybe he's just thriving right now in this environment, and it's all about confidence too. It's all about you got to have confidence throwing up these shots.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's drawing that confidence just from this is his last season, everything that's been going on, or Christopher and Bagley being out too. It just this team really needs a hero right now, and we got some guys showing up, and we called it with Kamani last week.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
And we're gonna move on shortly, but I think with Remy Martin, I think we've seen it a little bit. He's been scoring great. He's been getting to the line. He's been the facilitator for this team, but I think you can kind of see that he feels that weight on his shoulders that this team's not very good. They're not playing very well, and I'm going to need to go off for this team to win. And I don't have, let's see, against Washington State, he went from the field, he was 7 for 23. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. He still had 23 points, still led the team. He was 3 for 13 from 3. And by the way, I don't know if you remember, he hit the game winner there. So before that game winner, he was 2 for 12 from 3. And I'm not trying to shortcome the game winner because that's what winners do. Is they could have a bad game and they hit the clutch shot. I think that's exactly what Remy showed. But if this team really does want to be, we've talked about they have the talent to do win the Pac-12 tournament, to compete in the Pac-12 tournament. But if they really want to be a dominant team and actually have a shot, they're going to need Remy Martin's best ball. And I think it's plain and simple as that.
And he's not perfect at the end of the day. Like you said, I don't know what do you shoot until the game winner.
23 shots to score 23 points, so 7 for 23.
What was that? What was from behind the 3-point line?
3 for 13.
Yeah, so obviously he didn't do too good in the first game against the Cougars, but against in the second game against Washington, he shot from 40% behind the three.
Yeah,
so, you're gonna have something like that a little bit with every player, and less of any player than Remy Martin, you know what I mean, because he's our guy. But
I think that shows, though, that he kind of the argument that he's trying to do too much is like we dominated Washington by 33 or something, and then the second game was a little bit closer, but that's to be expected when you play a team back-to-back games
literally
like that.
3 days.
Yeah, exactly. But I think he's been succeeding. He played 41 minutes. Verge played 41. Kamani played 43. So I don't think they only played 7 guys against Washington State, by the way. Which it might be a blessing in disguise that this game got postponed today. So, because this would have been their 4th game in 7 days, which I can't remember ever in ASU history when that's happened. So, that's going to be something to keep on. We are going to move on to, a little bit late to the next segment. But, what does the sweep of the Washington schools mean? It says here, Kamani Lawrence has been a standout. What does it mean? And when I ask this question, do these 3 wins, does it give you any more hope of winning the Pac-12 tournament? Or do you think, you need to rain check a little bit? These are 3 decent wins, good wins for a team that's not playing well, but they still have a big mountain to overcome. What do you think?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think these are quality Pac-12 wins regardless. Washington and the Cougars. The Cougars started off the season in fine form. They were 8-1. They're a good team. I'm not sure if any of their best players were playing against us. I know a lot of them.
I don't know. Williams is playing, and he's been awesome for them.
De Silva's on Stanford, right?
Yes, correct.
But these are quality Pac-12 wins at the end of the day, and I'm not going to jump the gun here and say this team's Pac-12 tournament ready. After 3 Washington school games.
Yeah.
But I like what I'm seeing. I like that direction that we're trending. And man, Kamani Lawrence and Verge, if those guys can just keep playing at the level they're playing right now, when we bring back, in the main moving parts, I just said I wasn't going to jump the gun, but I'm really interested to see, what Bobby Hurley can do with this team, because we can hang with the best. Everyone who knows this team knew that from the beginning, and I think. These guys on this team know that they're just unfinished business in a way. I don't know, but we haven't won a Pac-12 tourney in all my time here. So it's just one of those things that, you can hope for it, you can pray for it, you can dream of it, but that is a huge mountain that Bobby Hurley and this team have to climb.
And not to burst your bubble, but they haven't won a Pac-12 tournament ever.
Yeah, I know.
I
didn't want to make it sound that bad.
I don't want to make
thanks.
it. It doesn't. It sounds way worse than it is because I believe the first year of the Pac-12 tournament was like 2003 or something. Okay. So it's not dating back that long, but dating back to the Pac-10, they've had tournaments. So one more little side note. This has nothing to do with ASU, but Washington State, they had a guy, DJ Rodman. Fun fact, that's Dennis Rodman's son. So I don't know why. Every time he got the ball, I just kept thinking, Dennis. And my eyes were drawn to him the entire game. But so I just thought about Pac-12. I was looking at the standings. Right now we're in 8th. So meaning we would play, let's see, we'd play 7. So we would play, actually, don't quote me on that because U of A is not allowed in the Pac-12 tournament this year. So I have no clue if all the seedings are just going to bump up one. If we're then going to be the 7 seed, if number 1 overall seed is going to get a bye. I'm not really sure how any of this is going to work. But we're a late UCLA choke. Now, I'm not saying loss. A late UCLA choke from being on a 4-game win streak, playing playing the best basketball we've played all year, and beating UCLA, who's number 1 now because they're 13-4, Oregon's 11-4, USC's 13-5. So UCLA holds outright number 1 position in the Pac-12. We are a choke away from being on a 4-game winning streak and beating the number 1 team in the Pac-12. So when it comes to Pac-12 tournament, you really got to rein it in, your excitement out, especially if Bagley and Christopher don't play. If they don't play, realistically, ASU has 0 shot of winning 4 games in 4 days. They don't have the depth. Without Bagley and Christopher, they're playing 7 to 8 guys. So you're not going to have the depth to play 4 games in 4 days. And they're not going to have the firepower to, they're going to play a USC fresh team second round if they win. And then, they already played a game coming out with 7 guys. It's just without Bagley and Christopher.
I'll quote you on that whenever Kamani Lawrence drops 30 in the Pac-12 championship game against.
Man, and I would never.
5 seconds left and just yams on Mobley for the game.
I would never be happier to be wrong. But, you need to rein it in. But the thing is they've competed without. I believe in the first USC game, I believe that was Remy Martin who was out, and, we played very well, played him to the end. I think USC ended up winning by 9 or close to double digits, but it was close until maybe 3 to 4 minutes left in that game. So I think this upcoming Thursday's game against Colorado is going to be a great litmus test because Colorado is playing some good basketball, probably the best basketball in the Pac-12 right now. I mean, they have wins against USC and UCLA back-to-back. That's fantastic, 2 of the best teams in the Pac-12. They lost to Oregon and lost to Cal, which Cal is a pretty bad loss, I will say that.
But that's just one of those games that a Pac-12 team overlooks every 5 times in a season.
Colorado has 7 losses this year. They're the only ranked team in the Pac-12. Let me read you their losses. It's quite funny. Tennessee, who is ranked number 12 in the nation at the time. Okay, good loss. U of A, who's they're pretty good but not great. UCLA, number 1 in the Pac-12. Washington, we've seen Washington. They're not very good. Utah's again below average, where a ranked team should be beating Utah consistently. Cal and Oregon. So they have some really off the radar losses and on the radar of losses with Oregon, UCLA, U of A. This team can get a win, but it's going to be tough to go into Colorado, and it's going to be Colorado's senior night with McKinley Wright, who I swear has been there for 14 years. He's
Mr. Ice.
It's been as long as I can remember watching Pac-12 basketball. I swear to God, McKinley Wright's been Colorado's point guard.
I can tell you right now, for the past 3 years, I'm pretty sure Wills is very close to near this, but there's no Pac-12 player that we've disliked more in basketball than Peyton Pritchard and McKinley Wright. Those are my top 2. Those are the guys that every time ASU has a good chance of winning the game in the last minute, they just pull out that freeze ray from Call of Duty and bing, bing, bing.
I could name you 5 U of A players that I've disliked in the last 2 years more than those. My least favorite U of A player, Alonzo Trier. I mean, he dominated ASU and was a great college player. Went to the NBA. I think he got caught for steroids and classic U of A, DeAndre Ayton. I'm not going to go into that, but we're going to move on to the next segment. This is really the big news. So there's a quote after the game of, someone kind of joked around. Remy, people are allowed to come back for another year because of COVID. Is it something you thought of? And the quote was, said he talked to Bobby Hurley about the possibility because he loves ASU and Tempe has treated him so well. And then at the end of the interview, he kind of smiled with a little like smirk on his face, and he said, maybe, which is one of those things.
Thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's in his mind. And you know what? Remy Martin coming back, odds are he's not going to go in the first round. And if he comes back and has another great year, not great year, but puts up 20 points per game in the Pac-12, he's going to get drafted in the second round no matter what, but he can't hurt his draft stock, I would say. It's not like if he's going to come back and put up 10 points per game and 4 assists, that's not what's going to happen. And if he comes back, he can only improve it. And something else I want to say, because Christopher Bagley, the first round draft projections for next year had Bagley and Christopher both going, right outside the lottery in the 15 to 20 range. I checked again on that yesterday. Bagley's still rated, I think, like 19 or 20. Christopher's projected to go number 30 overall. He is falling hard. For one of the guys, I think he was the 13th recruit in the nation. He hasn't played. Is that a guy that we could see come back again next year? Because if he's a second round grade, he can come back and pretty much guarantee himself a first round contract next year. If he has scouts telling him, hey, you're going to go in the second round, don't be surprised to see Remy Martin and Josh Christopher. Excuse me, I can't talk today. Remy Martin and Josh Christopher both in Sun Devil uniforms next year. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Don't be shocked.
You see that? Those are the chills that just came on my. Yeah. It's tough to talk about that because, obviously that's a possibility, and I don't want to diminish the fact that a lot of these players' seasons have really just and truly been derailed by COVID and everything that's happened, and it's really not out of the question. I mean, it's a lot different for actually it's not that different for Remy, because Remy has literally been through the ringer. He's been through everything here. I don't know if he would come back or not. I mean, I don't know if Christopher would either. He's a first round draft guy, yeah. But Remy would, I feel like, come back in a heartbeat. If Bobby Hurley was behind it, and the big thing about that, if he did that, is he would be making Bobby Hurley and everybody on the team's life a whole lot easier. Including mine. I
mean, as of right now, who's our backup point guard for next year? I think Verge is graduating.
Yeah.
And I don't think Holland Woods is. He might be available, but what are we going to run? House out there? Jalen House is our starting point guard. Like, that scares me. I don't care. If you have Zion Williamson playing at center. If Jalen House is your point guard, that scares me. And he's been a good energy guy off the bench, but it hasn't been a guy that is shown as a starting point guard. And hopefully some of that magic from his dad wears off. And I know that's unfair to compare him to his dad because everyone's their own basketball player, their own person. But, we could use some of that magic for a deep run, something magical. Because, like we said earlier, this team, it seems like as ASU fans, football early, 6 months ago is a perfect example. Our expectations are always here. And, it seems like the level of play comes down to, here. It's not necessarily that we totally fail. It's that it's enough to get your hopes up for next season. And then it all comes tumbling down with, in football, here comes another 8-6 or 8-5 season, or, in basketball, here comes another play-in game in Dayton where we still made the tournament, but we got blown out in the first round by Buffalo. There's games that there's levels to it. I don't mean to sound but there's levels to this. It's like the expectations just haven't been met, and it's kind of drawn the question of like why. And I think it's a really lame excuse, and we've talked about it so much, but COVID, I mean, this football team absolutely can use it, and this basketball team is just injury prone, and they just haven't seemed to get that chemistry together all season. And, they're showing that chemistry in these last 3 games of, look what happens when we're finally playing some team basketball. Now imagine if Bagley and Christopher had been in the lineup that whole time. I guarantee you there's 2, 3, maybe 4 less losses in the schedule. And it's just really tough. It is an excuse, that's all it is, but it just seems like our expectations always at the end of the year are, all right, what's going on for next year? But, if Remy Martin does leave and Christopher and Bagley both leave, this could be a scary sight for the team, because I was just looking at it. ASU's best recruit coming in next year is a center, which is, thank God we got a center coming in. But I believe he's like a 79 or 80 overall recruit. And I know you can't judge people based on their star ratings, but you're really hoping for ASU to have a better recruiting class because of what they've been building and what they've done these last few years, getting better in recruiting. Obviously, the recruiting class doesn't end today, and there's still going to be a lot more added, but there's just a lot of question marks for this team that Remy Martin would answer by coming back next year.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but those question marks are going to linger for the rest of the season, because I wouldn't believe you if you told me the output and the end all of this season doesn't have an effect on what any of these guys do, because it does 100%. And if Remy Martin and Josh Christopher decide to win ASU its first Pac-12 tournament, maybe make it to 2-3 games into the NCAA tournament. And what if
the brakes, buddy?
Hey, I'm making content right now, okay? If they make it to the tournament, win a couple games, but what if they just come back and have a little moment and they're like, hey, we got unfinished business, like COVID, that's not how I want to end my time at ASU. Because this is a huge possibility, but only time will tell. It's tough to picture Josh Christopher coming back and risking. I don't even know what the fan situation is going to be like. What could happen with COVID again next year? Like,
hopefully everyone's vaccinated by
hopefully
next year, so everyone that wants to.
But just there's so much out of the pocket crap that could happen. I mean, we saw it this year, if anything. So it's tough. Don't get my hopes up too much.
I mean, the thing it's been in the back of my head, and I don't want to sound like a pessimist here, but I'm starting to question if Bagley and Christopher are going to come back this year at all, because we heard before, I don't know if it was the USC or UCLA game, but I remember hearing a direct quote from Bobby Hurley saying, yeah, I just ran into Marcus at COVID testing. He's looking great. We should get him back on the court very soon. That was now 5 games ago. 2 weeks, 5 games of someone who should be back very soon. I'm hoping that he's not seeing, hey, this is a bad team and I'm cashing into the first round, see you later. I really hope that's not what's happening, but it's getting to the point where I'm starting to ask those questions, and it's tough because we have 2 games left. We have Colorado and Utah and then the Pac-12 tournament, and this team is starting to build that chemistry. Let's say they don't come back till after Utah, but they're back for the Pac-12 tournament. Obviously, you want these guys in your rotation, but man, it's really going to mess up that chemistry, the minutes that Kamani Lawrence has gotten, the roles that Holland Woods and Verge have been playing. I just really question if these guys are done for the season. And I hope it's not true, but I really hope we get them back for Colorado and Utah to get a little bit of chemistry before the Pac-12 tournament. That's something I really hope for.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot with, a bunch of other, nationally ranked teams this season. The top guys are dropping out.
Look at Duke. Jalen Johnson was supposed to be a top 10 pick.
Maybe this is a good thing. Put some respect on ASU. We got some good recruits that are dropping out before the season's even over, dude. Come here. We just got it like that. That's how it is over here.
That is actually such a good point, though. I mean this in the best way, because the thing about Bobby Hurley, when he started his ASU career, people were worried that he was one of the best college point guards of all time. He played at Duke. Going to be on his way out in the next 5 to 7 years. He's getting old. Is Bobby Hurley the successor to Coach K? And that's a huge issue, because you have to worry in the back of your mind. Is another bigger school going to poach Hurley from us? Or that is a good issue to have. If Duke is poaching ASU's coach, that means something is going right here. And to look on the positive side of what you just said, let's say Bagley and Christopher are sitting out.
Well, it just gives Bobby Hurley some one and dones to add to his name. What does that mean in the big picture, especially this season? But one and dones, that's a good player, and people remember them in the draft,
Yeah, and okay, so we're pretty much out of time. So before we go, I do want to get your prediction. No scores, but Colorado Thursday, and I think Utah Sunday, I believe, Saturday. So give me your record prediction here.
1-1. I don't see us, the best thing that could happen is one of our best guys come back and we lose our steam and our synergy. I mean,
yeah.
And that's, the they're not going to come back for the Utah game. If anything, they'd come back for Colorado, or they wouldn't come
Colorado's
back.
the first game, so
Yeah.
Thursday. So I'm going to say 1-1 as well, just because Colorado's always had our number. Even I remember 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, I was supposed to go to I did go to the Pac-12 tournament in Vegas, and ASU was playing Colorado in the first round, and all they needed to do was beat Colorado, who was like second or third to last in the Pac-12, and they booked themselves a date with U of A in the Pac-12 tournament. I already had my tickets for the game, my hotel booked, and ASU lost to Colorado. So I had to sit in Vegas and drive out to Vegas for an Arizona-Colorado game. Just want to point, but
it's like worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario. But Colorado always seems to have our number. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going to say 1-1-2 win over Utah. I'm going to say it's going to be a close loss to Colorado, and that win over Utah is going to be convincing, and it's going to be some momentum going into the Pac-12 tournament. But that is all the time we have today. Make sure to check us out next week. There is no article. I ran into a busy schedule this week. There will be an article up either later this week or this weekend for ASU basketball and how the season's kind of wrapping up. Make sure to catch those on Sports Pac-12 or on Dash Sports on my Twitter, which is left below. Keep up with all your ASU content. Josh and I will be here every Monday, and next Monday we'll be wrapping up the regular season, and it will be time for Pac-12 tournament, so we'll know kind of ASU's path a week from this time. So thank you for joining, and we will see you next week. Make sure to follow Dash Sports on all social media, Instagram, Twitter, that's Dash Sports, or check us out online, dashsports.tv. Make sure to get that plug in there. We will see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.